are these people?
I had this weird thing this morning, or last night. I found an article that originally I didn't really want to cover. Now, wait, before I get to that, this is silly and stupid, and which is why we're gonna play it. So this. Okay, so we've got another story here, and like I said, I wasn't going to necessarily do this. This was added to the roster last minute, and you know what? Let me put it up on this one. The police, go figure, have a dark money slush fund?
Like with Sting? Like
Roxanne,
Sting and...
You don't have to put on the red light. No, not that Sting. Not that police. Unfortunately, the police. I love you, man.
Damn.
Don't dance so close to me.
I love you, man.
So, dude, that's a great Cheech and Chong bit that they do. It was very funny. They guy at a concert. Anyway, so corporate interests. Yes, corporate America funding your stormtroopers now and providing them with equipment and little oversight for it. Yay! So this is at the lever. Not crazy about the lever anymore. I used to be a big fan, but this one popped across and I hadn't seen anyone talk about this. And I was like, this is an important story, so we should.
At least it's not Sirota.
It's not Sirota. No, it's not Sirota. No. It's Katya something or other. It's somebody who I'd never heard of.
Not Sirota.
Yes. Right? Dun, 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 dun. Not Sir. Oh, all right. Now we're gonna have to have Jesse make a song called "It's Not Sirota." Right?
Not Sirota.
Yes, not Sirota. Yep. All right. So how do I take this off? There we go. Next, private donors, including big box stores, fossil fuel companies, and tech giants, are secretly giving hundreds of millions of dollars annually to law enforcement agencies and related foundations, allowing police to buy specialized weapons and technology with little public oversight. That seems like it might be a mild concern. The experts say the huge deluge, say that 5 times, right, of police dark money funding, detailed in a new University of Chicago working paper and an additional analysis shared exclusively with the lever, leaves law enforcement beholden to the companies and powerful donors bankrolling them rather than the communities that officers are sworn to serve. As if they're actually sworn to serve a community. We know cops protect property, they do not protect people. Quote, Robert Vargas, who's a professor of sociology at the University of Chicago and co-authored a study, he says, the big picture finding is that the world of private donations to police is a lot bigger and more complex than previously estimated, and that will turn out to be a massive understatement. So this study analyzed the database of nonprofit tax returns, which found that from 2014 to 2019, more than 600 private donors and organizations collectively funneled $461 million to police and other nonprofits supporting police. A figure that Vargas said was without a doubt an undercount. Not quite $1 billion, but yes. 461 million, which was also without a doubt an undercount, as it was also based on organizations' own disclosures about their giving, because we know that they're very forthcoming with their disclosure. The private money comes in part from big retailers like Target and Walmart, oil companies like Chevron and Shell and Microsoft and other big tech players, companies that have touted their support of law enforcement for years. There's a whole other story about Warren Buffett's son. The new research exposes how easily private donors can secretly funnel money to police. Anonymous donors use asset managers like Fidelity or Goldman Sachs Charitable Fund to fund the litany of police foundations and other opaque nonprofit organizations that support police work, the researchers found. Clandestine funds have made Fidelity's charitable arm one of the largest private donors to police in the country. You want to hurt cops? Yep. Take your money out of Fidelity.
In
many jurisdictions,
and I'm sure like a ton of other banks.
I'm sure. But in many jurisdictions, private funding for police comes with virtually no oversight and can be used to buy surveillance technology, high-tech weapons, and other items that agencies might otherwise struggle to justify. Like what? For instance, the Baltimore Police Department for years used private money to fund a secret aerial surveillance program that could track the locations of people throughout the city in real time. Billionaire philanthropists in Texas provided money for the program, but routed the funds through a nonprofit in Baltimore, which allowed the program to stay for a time out of the public eye. Of course, when news of the program became public, it caused an outcry and was eventually ruled unconstitutional in court. Because I definitely want Texas billionaires and Texas, billionaire philanthropists funding Baltimore surveillance programs. And if anything went down in Baltimore that he ever needed access to, he's going to get access to that. Right?
Like a bridge.
Well.
What?
Allegedly, Reef. Allegedly.
In
LA, the city's police department used money from Target, also routed through a local police foundation, to purchase software from Palantir, VC Peter Thiel's data analytics company, that provides police massive amounts of sensitive data and purports to identify crime hotspots.
Yep.
Not cool, right?
Not to be confused with Nico House's hotspot.
No.
Different hotspot.
It's a totally different hotspot. In West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Though, interesting.
Privately funded police nonprofits have purchased ballistic helmets, drones, motorcycles, and even horses for the city's police department. Because, the city shouldn't be able to buy their own horses. Such surveillance technology and military gear is deployed disproportionately in black communities and low-income neighborhoods. Go figure. Right? The heightened surveillance intensifies local policing, which research has shown can harm community health and well-being. Yes, it can. Private funding represents a tiny fraction of the money that states and cities spend on police, which by some estimates amounts to more than $100 billion annually. We're not even talking half of $1 billion. But still, it's a lot of fucking money. In comparison to their municipal budgets, it seems like a drop in the budget. It seems like a drop in the bucket, but that money has an outsized impact. What do you mean? It's really important to look at how this private money is being spent. Most of it in the municipal budgets is going to salaries in benefits. Okay, this is going to equipment and experimental technology, and it's all outside of public discussion, and all even outside of public reporting. It was, as Armstrong continued, a huge slush fund that is completely unaccountable. I would love to have a $100 million slush fund that is unaccountable. I'd love to have $1 million slush fund that's unaccountable. Let's just say that.
I'd love to have 1 million slushies that are unaccounted for.
Well, sure.
Blue raspberry.
Right. Now we have a sense of just how big that slush fund is. So what do you mean? This is a kind of shell corporation, right? One of the most common ways that private donations, whether from oil companies, billionaires, or big box retailers, make their way to law enforcement is through police foundations, which are nonprofits established to support law enforcement in a particular city, such as the New York City Police Foundation or the LA Police Foundation. Now, according to public data from the city of New York, the New York City Police Department reported $30 million in private donations from 2019 to 22, of which almost all of it, 26.8 million, nearly 90%, came from the New York City Police Foundation. So basically, they're the ones that are providing all of the charitable private funding donations. Police foundations position themselves as charities, soliciting donations and then providing that money to local law enforcement. So it's a write-off on top of everything. Their supporters say that the work can improve officer morale, that the additional funding can supplement strained public budgets. We've been overfunding the cops for years.
I thought the margarita machine in the break room improved officer morale, not,
Right. Although municipal police tend to be flush with public resources. That's correct. Flush with public resources. I don't know what they're talking about. Now, I refer to police foundations as a kind of shell corporation, and this is an associate professor of criminal justice at the University of Winnipeg who studies police foundations in the U.S. and Canada. Let's get Himbo and Yeti on this one. They can move money around in ways that public bodies can't. They don't really have robust reporting or disclosure mechanisms. And the term dark money, he said, was an appropriate way to describe their support. Police foundations, like most charities, do not have to publicly report their donors until an expose from The Intercept, for instance. The New York City Police Foundation didn't disclose that it received a $1 million donation from the UAE in 2012, even when that money was passed directly along to police to support criminal investigations in that city, quote unquote. Holy crap.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was to The Intercept?
Yes.
Ugh.
There are some 250 police foundations in the U.S., of which nearly 80% say that they fund technology and equipment for police, like you said, drones and robot dogs, as well as programming for officers and PR campaigns. Just what we need, private slush funds funding PR campaigns to make the stormtroopers benevolent. Thank you. While such organizations have been around for decades, Walby said that they've grown steadily since the 1990s, particularly in response to calls to limit the ever-increasing public funding for police, which has nearly tripled over the last several decades. Yes, research has documented increasing revenues for police foundations year after year after year. Quote, what we notice now is that a big period of growth happened after 2020. Anything happen at the end of 2020 and early 2021? Maybe. Adding that it was direct in response.
Wasn't the end of the Mayan calendar?
Well, it was also direct response to the protests over George Floyd's murder in May of that year. They were using corporate money as kind of a backstop to buttress themselves against the defund the police movement. So they went to corporate America and said, look,
before they infiltrate it.
Well, no, if they had already infiltrated it, but saying if the government is going to defund us, you want to fund us? We'll work for you guys instead. Or in addition, the corporate bankrollers of police foundations often appear to get good return on their investments, just like the people who invest in politicians. Right?
Yeah.
Target, for instance, has long funded surveillance and anti-crime programs in cities across the country, successfully promoting crackdowns on retail theft and petty crime in disinvested neighborhoods over other arguably more pressing community concerns. Like San Francisco, petty crime at CVS and shit. Yep. This is the one that really pissed me off, and that's like, I got to cover this. In St. Louis, the city's police chief receives $100,000 a year directly from the local police foundation in addition to his salary, an arrangement that critics say has ensured that the department is beholden to local business interests. How is that legal?
Okay.
How is that legal? Well, I'll tell you how, because it came from a charitable foundation.
100,000.
It was basically...
that's like just a write-off.
It was money laundering.
Yeah.
Straight up laundering corporate money into a quote-unquote charitable foundation that then found its way charitably into this police chief's bank account. Are you fucking kidding me? People should be going to jail over this shit. No paper trail.
But that won't happen.
Of course not, because previous research has shown that police foundations receive tens of millions of dollars annually from private donors. But the new research by Vargas and his co-authors shows that such local foundations are in fact part of a far broader network of nonprofits and funds dedicated to funneling private money and in-kind gifts to cops, one that involves hundreds of millions of dollars. This new study identified hundreds of dark money organizations that finance police departments, sometimes donating directly to law enforcement and sometimes donating to other police nonprofits, creating a tangled web of donors and intermediaries. Collectively, those organizations gave more than, ready for this number, $826 million in donations over a six-year period, but those organizations also reported revenues of more than $16 billion, according to the additional analysis researchers shared with the Lever.
A lot of money.
That's a lot of shkarol.
Yep.
The organizations include associations of sheriffs and police chiefs, national nonprofits like the police charity 100 Club, and private foundations like that of the wealthy police advocate Howard Buffett, the son of billionaire Warren Buffett. They're basically buying the favor of the cops.
Yep.
Allegedly.
Why wouldn't you? It's available. You know?
Sure.
I mean, mobsters did it for years. Now it's just different mobsters.
Exactly.
The mob is the police, don't you know?
Well, no, the police are just the enforcement for the mobsters, which are the billionaires, the oligarchs. This is an important set of findings because it reveals in real terms the amount of capital that's flowing, and it reveals the number of corporate nodes in the network. Financial services companies like Fidelity and Schwab also appear in the data as some of the biggest donors to police dark money groups. Of course, because they want to get the contract to actually fund this shit and finance it and run the programs. Both companies allow wealthy individuals to funnel money to nonprofits through donor-advised funds, and we talked about the Goldman Sachs one that actually funds the People's Forum in New York City. $19 million in 2019. Yeah, we see you guys. That are an increasingly popular way to anonymize donations and get a tax break at the same time. That came from the Goldman Sachs Charitable Fund. Various police foundations have begun advertising this funding arrangement as one way to donate. Launder money. Donate. The truth is that if somebody wanted to donate a lot of money and hide their tracks, all they would do is make a donation to a police nonprofit from a donor-advised fund, and then there's essentially no paper trail. How about that? So, while critics have pushed for additional transparency and regulation around donor-advised funds, describing them as an unaccountable form of billionaire philanthropy, like I said, billionaire money laundering philanthropy. Give me a fucking break. Because the only people who benefit from this are the stormtroopers and their bosses. Federal regulators have appeared hesitant to launch a major crackdown. I wonder why. Last November, the IRS proposed some modest limitations to their use to rein in spending on lobbying and other non-charitable causes. And police charities are, of course, among the entities that have opposed the new rules. Go figure. Why would they oppose it? Police foundations and other private donors have also found ways to limit disclosures about the gifts they provide to police, the researchers found. When the researchers looked at Chicago as a case study, they found that 90% of the private donations to police went unreported, revealing they wrote, police finance organizations' interest in keeping their funding of police secret.
Yeah.
Yes, mafia tactics. So for the most part, the millions in dark money funding the police agencies receive each year is perfectly legal, which is presenting a challenge for those who want to see greater transparency. And God forbid you get the lawmakers to actually do something about this. Yes, all one same. It is just a war against the people. It's all war against the people. For the most part, the millions, like we said, they don't want to see transparency. There are largely no laws or policies governing foundation donations to the police, said somebody from the Color of Change, an advocacy group that has opposed corporate backing of police. The foundations have thus created a kind of loophole, and one that legally allows officers and departments to take gifts from vendors, sidestepping conflicts of interest and donor disclosure rules. Palantir, for instance, has donated to police foundations that subsequently funded law enforcement purchases of their own data analytics technology. Go figure. Even in places that require official city approval of gifts from foundations like LA, such a process has often appeared to be a formality, with gifts being rubber-stamped by local officials over the opposition of local communities and activists. What are they going to do? You're going to fire the cops over them taking a bribe or taking some kind of equipment, some kind of software that they say is going to help them police the community? They're going to set you up and try to make you look like you were the monster and preventing them from policing the community effectively. Garbage, right? Yep. Lawmakers are definitely on the take too, Mantis. Glad to see you here today. Cities must end these untraceable donations and require that any equipment, device, technology, or software that's purchased or donated through a police foundation is subject to disclosure, oversight, and accountability laws. Well, that sounds nice. Sure. Right? There has been some movement on the issue. In January, New York City enacted a law with the grudging support of local cops that'll require a police department to provide an annual report on how it spends the millions from private donations that it receives, both from the foundation and other sources, which it should. Unlike its use of public dollars, the department has not previously been required to disclose how it uses private funding. And they probably won't be moving forward. The law also requires the New York Police Department to provide information on its private donors, but because many of these donations are routed through the New York City Police Foundation, the donors will likely still remain anonymous. So,
keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Pretty much, that's what they want to do. Keep it secret. Yes, you know what, Cookies? It does sound exactly like racketeering. That is a good word. All right. They'll put a bag of coke in your pocket and bust you if you don't play their game. 100%. Allegedly, sir. Allegedly. All right. Yeah, just going through chats. Welcome to everybody over on the Rockfin and on the Rumble. I see Ghost Start in there. Those black sites are going to fund themselves. That's 100% right. Right. Let's sweep that out. So if you are chatting over on any of my channels, I can put that up here as well as over on the INN channels. Pretty cool stuff. Very exciting. Right? Was asking the local swine when we turn into the goddamn Soviet Union. Well, in some ways, I think that the Soviet Union would have been handling things a lot better. All right.